I was just like, well, let me just go into the studio and just sing this with nothing. And so I had a click track, and it was just like, woo, 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 wow, woo.
Sing! Hey y'all, and welcome back to Do I Know You? I hope y'all are having such a beautiful week. If you're not, actually, wait, let's do a check-in. Let's pause the interview for a second. What's up? What's tea? Are we feeling up? Are we feeling down? What's the vibe? Black History Month is over, so I know all of us are crushed about that, I hope. Yeah, let me know what's going on. How can I help me help you? That's what my teacher used to say when I would ask. I'd be like, oh my gosh, okay. I would literally be in the middle of a test, and I would be like, hi, can you help me with question number 7 or whatever? And I would frame the question in a way where it was so obvious I did not know what I was talking about. But I was like, I'm gonna need you to give me something you don't want me here next year. I don't want to be here next year. I'm gonna need you to give me something. I'm leaving here with something. And they would be like, help me help you. That's why I called you over. I literally don't know how to help me or you. So anyways, I hope you're feeling amazing. If you're not, don't worry. If you are, amazing, because we can only go. If you're up, you can only go more up. What Cardi B say? If it's up, then it's stuck. If you're not feeling up, let me know. Hit my DMs. Let me help you out. Let me hype you up and remind you who you are. If you don't feel like you know who you are by the time this is over, y'all are about to get... Wow. Today, y'all, we have such a treat from my friend, Shanta Atkins. I literally feel like she is really going to just break things off people. And I do not say that very lightly. She has such a gift over her life to encourage and just speak truth to your situation. After the interview, I felt I had therapy. Literally I felt oh, it's my therapist, but it's not. It's a friend, it's a sister, whatever. So I'm just really grateful for her. So Shanta is a singer-songwriter. I'll give you her intro. Just hold on. Just wait till the next clip. But her sisters, Mary, Erica and Tina, literally gospel legends. If y'all had any worship music on ever, y'all definitely listen to Mary, Shackles, literally God in Me, stuff I play every morning. And yeah, they're just they're all just incredible women, incredible vocalists, but more importantly, just their souls are radiant, just so beautiful. And Shanta's soul was just bared on this talk show, and she just let it all out. And I'm so grateful she did. I want to give a quick trigger warning. We do talk about suicidal ideation, depression, anxiety. So if those are things that will trigger you or affect you, go to the timestamps and you can skip through and you can go right past that. But if it doesn't trigger you, it's very meaningful. And that's what I'm talking about. I really think it will break things off people. So I'm so excited for you to be healed from this conversation. You just never know how God is going to move. And I feel like he really moved in this episode. So I cannot wait for y'all to see. Please welcome Shanta. Hey y'all, welcome back. So I'm so excited to bring this beauty of a guest today. She's a singer-songwriter. She's an educator. She's a beautiful Black queen, honestly, wrapping up our Black History Month perfectly. And she's a star, come on, angles. She's a star from a family of other stars. So y'all, her two sisters, Erica and Tina, make up two of the biggest names in the history of gospel music, Mary. But y'all can go look up interviews with them. Today, we're here to shine a spotlight on another queen, Shanta Atkins, and just get into the stardom that she is. So Shanta, welcome.
Hey girl.
Hey girl. How are you?
I'm well. A lot's happening, but I'm good.
There's a lot going on right now. If only y'all saw the 20 minutes before this, but we gonna spare you and just not even concern you with the details. I'm literally screaming. Can we just take a second, y'all, for Shanta's braids? Here's the thing. I feel like sometimes people try to, give us a little lay. Sometimes people try to convince us that blonde braids are just for the summer, but that's actually not true. You need them more in the winter seasons. I mean, you're in Cali, so it's not freezing cold, I guess, but You need
It
some
was
color.
snowing though, but it was snowing in some not in Inglewood and Los Angeles, but the surrounding cities. So Pasadena got snow, Carson got snow, LA County, which is like
Mm,
it's really not in LA County, it's like the outskirts. So that was just like, whoa,
wow.
people outside excited, like so yeah.
But you lived in Chicago for a second, so you were like, get this snow away from me.
Get this snow away from me. I came back home for sunshine. Okay. No snow.
No, truly. Are you a beach girl? Like, do you enjoy the ocean, the sand and stuff?
I
Or are
love
you
it.
like, let me
I
stay
love
away?
it. I love it.
Oh, me
I love it.
too.
I love it.
I'm so
Yeah.
jealous. There's something about the water that is so humbling. It's just like, wow, I'm so small.
Yeah. Right.
I
For real, for
literally love it so much. Okay. Well, I have literally a million questions for you. So I'm going to try to limit myself. But my first question is like, I gave you a little introduction, which didn't even scratch the surface. How would
real.
you describe yourself? Like, who is Shanta?
I am a woman, okay, a woman of God. I'll say that. I'm a beautiful black woman of God. And I have a really big personality. And I think I have a big personality just because I'm in a family full of women who are just leaders, who
Mm,
lead, who are passionate, who are compassionate.
mm.
And so I have a really big personality. I'm outgoing. I'm an extrovert of extroverts, but I can also be to myself, like, you know what I mean? So
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
because I like my space. It's people be doing.
I
I
feel like
know.
you're
Okay.
describing
Yeah.
me right now. I think sometimes there's a misconception. People think extroverts have to be around people all the time. If I'm around people all the time, how am I going to recharge? I need to shut the door.
Yeah. Absolutely. They think that they think that extroverts don't value alone time. And so, there's a lot of misconceptions about different types of people. So introverts is like, I hate people. And I'm just like, sometimes it's not a situation where introverts hate people.
Right.
You just may be a person that's more introverted that hates
Right.
people. I mean, that goes for everybody. And then extroverts, it doesn't mean like you always want to be around people, but it doesn't mean you hate people. So, you know what I mean? So I think that people need to be able to describe or define the type of maybe introverted or extroverted person they are. Like I have a big personality, but I value my alone time as well. So yeah.
Got to have it. That's why lockdown, low key, I was like, this is kind of nice, low key, not having to see y'all all the time.
I don't have to go nowhere. I don't have to spend gas. Like I'm big on saving money, so I don't have to go out to eat all the time. I'm getting food on. I was like cooking more, you know what I mean, and incorporating different things and learning different recipes, all of that, and you know what I mean. So just really taking that time to learn to be more domesticated versus out and about all the time. You know what I mean?
A
So
1000%. Okay, wait, what's your go-to meal that you cook? Like you get home, no one took the meat out the freezer like you asked. Like, what's up?
I like really quick stuff. So I really like. I'm not a super big pasta person, but I love pesto. So I can
Ooh.
eat anything with pesto. Pesto chicken breast, pesto with shrimp, pesto with
Ooh.
turkey, pesto with just if it has pesto in it, I'm gonna eat a sandwich, a salad. It doesn't matter. Okay, so I love pesto. But I do like chicken breast like a lot, and just like a vegetable because I was doing keto for a while,
Oh
but
wow.
I'm not. I like carbs, but I don't have to have carbs in my meal. You know what I mean? So if it give me some chicken breast, some broccoli, and some cheese, and I'm good.
Done.
I like a lot of it. See, that's working on. We're working on the portions. We're working on the
Come
portions.
on.
We're working on the portions. We're working on the portions. On the portions. But yeah, I love chicken breast. I'm just I listen, you cut it up, slice it up, season it, boom, 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 pow, pow, pow. I could throw it in a salad, I
Period.
could throw some rice, I could throw like brown rice or something like that.
Right.
I could put it in a burrito with some pesto. I could put it on a with some pesto. You see the okay.
You said I'm gonna find a way to get that pesto in there.
Some kind of way, okay?
That is literally so iconic. I love it. I have never thought about doing shrimp and pesto, so thank you for putting me on. That will be what I eat tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Better. Okay.
Okay, so you said that you would describe yourself as a woman of God. Me
Mm-hmm.
too. And I'm curious, like, your faith is clearly a central part of your identity. How, like, in what ways does it play a role?
Okay. And then God is limitless. So for me, my faith in Jesus Christ is at the core of who I am, and it influences every area of my life. So, of course, with spirituality it influences that. It also influences how I live my life when it comes to my career. So my profession, I'll say, is full time. I'm an educator, but I also sing and I do songwriting. And so my singing and all of that, my inspiration comes just from God, my relationship with God, my experiences with God, the word of God. And then with education, the way that it's incorporated in that is because I believe that everywhere that I go and encounter people, it's an opportunity for ministry to happen. I think that sometimes people get ministry as something that happens in the church, or if you're called to preach, or they invite you to sing or teach or whatever. But I look at every encounter with people as an opportunity for ministry to happen. So within education, I look at that as a way to be able to spread, the love of God with the students that I work with as well. So it also plays a big role in my family. So my family, we're all believers, and we spend a lot of time not just doing like fun stuff and all of that, but we come together and we do like family prayer. We have family prayer in the mornings, and it's a way for us to really unify, for us to really gel, for us to really work through our problems and our issues. I think a lot of times in dealing with different conflict in life, sometimes people don't know how to deal with that. And for us, we've incorporated the word of God and even teaching us how to work through some things, because there's things that are going to happen, right? You have to learn how to forgive. There are some times people are going to do stuff, they betray you. You're going to have to learn from the example of Jesus. So I feel like who I am, at the core of who I am, is my belief in Jesus Christ. And so, yeah, that influences everything that I do. My relationships, romantic relationships, or just, platonic friendships, like it influences all of that. For me, I can't separate. There's no separation for
me. Because it's who you are.
Yeah.
Right. I love that so much. I literally feel that on such a deep level. And I just want to call out what you said about you're an educator, and so you come in contact with young people. So the fact that you can minister to them, just even if you don't even mention like, hey, do you believe in Jesus? Like, it's not even like that. It's just you living your life, and the fruit is what they see. They're like, oh, there's something different about her. Like, I'm sure they don't call you Shanta, like Miss Atkins, or like whatever they call you. Like, there's something different about her. Like, oh, let me tell you about the Holy Spirit. Let me tell you about you. Like, it's just so beautiful when that is like what you're rooted in. I always say, like, I know who I am. I know whose I am. Everything else, cool. But like, if I can be rooted in that, period, like that's who I am.
Yeah, your lifestyle can be an invitation or a deterrent to Jesus Christ. And so, look, he just gave me that. Thanks, Lord.
Come on, Holy Spirit.
Come on. I be like, oh, that was good. I'm gonna say that. Listen, it wasn't me, it was the Lord. But yeah, I feel like the way that I live my life, and the way that I live my life, like I said, it could definitely be an invitation. And sometimes even things that I don't know, like you said, it may not be me saying, hey, you want to pray today, or hey, you love Jesus, or hey, do you want to know about Jesus? But it's a situation where one of the parents, I had like a meeting or whatever, and one of the parents, I just happened to go on because they were like, somebody could make it. Miss Atkins, can you come? I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. And the parent was like, are you Miss Atkins? I was like, yeah. It was like, oh, my daughter, told me about you, because she was just like, she really loves herself, and she's happy, and she makes me want to like love myself. And I didn't even think of that. I didn't. You don't know how you're impacting people. You don't know what part of your personality or whatever, or what you do. You don't know how it's impacting people. So for her mother to know, like, oh no, student comes and talks about you because you sing, and you know what I mean, and you are, and she's like, oh, I want to do that too, or I can be like that too. She was like, you really inspire her. And I'm just like,
wow, come on.
And this is not like a student who's super vocal, so I would have never known that. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, oh, thanks God.
Thanks God. You always get back to thank you God. No, literally, it's so amazing, because you also never know. Like, I told someone this and they thought I was exaggerating. You could have been saving someone's life. Like, you just never know someone that's on their last leg, their final straw. And by you, like, y'all, exemplifying Jesus, not really about to take y'all to church, sorry, but not sorry, I'm about to do it. Like, exemplifying Jesus could literally be like smiling at someone when like they don't smile back, or like inviting someone over and you see them sitting by themselves. Like, that's what Jesus did. It's like, it doesn't have to be all that. Just like live your life, with Jesus at the center and watch what happens. And you might not ever know, to your point, like if the mom had never told you, like you might not have known, but he knows, period.
Yeah. It's recorded in heaven. It
Come
is. So
on.
that's all I'm worried about. As long as we know we good. I think sometimes people can get caught up in trying to capture every moment. I got to capture this because I got to show people what I'm doing. I got to capture this. And I thank God for my parents. Shout out to Eddie and Shanta Atkins.
Shout out to them.
Yeah, rest in peace. But I saw them really just do the work. You know what I mean? Do what they were taught. You know what I'm saying? Which is being not just a good person, but being a godly person, doing the work and being kind to people and giving to people. They didn't have a camera like, oh, look at me today.
Right.
I get homeless. Shh, come on, you know, follow my ministry brand. Like, you know, I feel like a lot of times, especially these days, we're really like, and I gotta say it, it's real Matthew 23-ish. It's real Matthew 6-ish. It's real, you know, we like to sit in the synagogues in the high seats. You feel me? We like to, you know, we want to put you in the corner so we can be seen. We want to wear certain clothes so people know that I'm of the Lord. You know what I'm saying? Or we want to do all of our praying and all of our stuff to be seen of men. And it's like, chill. You feel me? Like chill though, because God knows. You know what I'm saying? And
yes.
I understand the necessity of sometimes sharing and showing, but it's sometimes it becomes a show and that's it.
1000%.
You know, you gotta be careful of that. You know what I mean? So
totally agree.
Yeah,
totally agree. Wow, I love that. I literally love the Holy Spirit. Shout out to him for real. Okay, and then I also know that you are like a mental health warrior, and I want to speak about, okay, y'all, we'll talk about your journey as a singer-songwriter, but if y'all have not heard Shanta's song, God Sees You, pause this, go listen, come back. You're gonna be in tears, but come back. And I just like the way that you were able to speak to so many, like, you, like, I feel like people were seen listening to that song. I felt seen. And just the way you were able to speak to so many mental health situations that are like hidden, but it's like, no, God sees you. And it's like, just the way you were able to interweave your faith with like advocating for mental health. Like, is that something that comes naturally to you? Is clearly that's something you're passionate about.
So I didn't, you know what's crazy? I didn't necessarily see myself as this mental health person. I think that I'm compassionate, but my approach would sometimes cause people to think that I'm not compassionate or loving. I think that sometimes when you have a more of an aggressive or assertive approach, the assumption is that, oh, well, because your approach is this way, your intention is this. And so people misunderstand that my aggression or my assertiveness comes from really my level of compassion and care and concern.
Oh, wow.
So I would find these people, or these people would find me actually like online on MySpace, and they'd be like, hey, you know, I'm going through this. I would literally just be talking about Jesus. That's it. And all of a sudden, people will be like, I'm going through this. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to help you. You know what I'm saying? You know, people are like, I'm suicidal, I'm feeling like this. And for me, when somebody tells me that they're going through and they're hurting, I don't want to see people hurt. Right. I don't want to see people like going down a dark hole. For me, my aggression and my assertiveness comes from me not wanting to see people drown in darkness and drown in what they're going through. So I'm just like, I'm going to do whatever I got to do. And so my first situation where I encountered someone who was suicidal or had mental, just, I don't want to say mental health issues, but I'll say mentally disturbed, emotionally disturbed, going through some stuff. I was 19 years old. And so she reached out and was like, hey, I'm suicidal, blah, 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 whatever. I'm just like, oh my God. She's like, can I call you? Only thing is, I don't know if I want you to call me, but I let her call me.
Okay.
Right. I let her call me. Yeah. I let her call me, and sometimes I will be on the phone up to 4 hours just talking her out of trying to kill herself. And I realized that she was when I looked it up in the book or whatever diagnosis, it was like the symptoms that I saw, it would categorize her as someone who was manic depressive. And so I would just encounter these people all the time. And what I realized is that I had an anointing to deal with illness in the mind. I'll just say that, or dis-ease in the mind. You know what I'm saying? All the stuff in the mind. And so, and in the emotions as well. And so it wasn't until I worked in the mental health field. I used to work with girls who were mentally and emotionally disturbed. They were girls who had been trafficked. They were girls who had been, sold for drugs by their parents, completely neglected and just abandoned, right? And so it was like an orphanage. It was formerly the LA orphanage, and now it's called Maryvale. And
Okay.
so it's basically a place where kids who don't have parents, they just send them to that facility, and the staff members, we raise them basically. Um,
Wow.
yeah, we raise them, and so
Mm.
they call it residential counseling, but you're literally like their parents. You're just trying
Wow.
to parent them as a staff member. So that's like whoa, and I didn't really understand that it was really like reparenting until I
Mm.
came out of it. I'm like, that's really what we were doing then. We were
Right.
teaching them the
Right.
skills. So through all of that, I got the song God Sees You, not just because of that, but because of my own struggles that were hidden for so long because of sometimes church culture and the way that it was, and you got to hide this and you can't talk about this, and what are people going to think if they think you have mental health issues? What are they going to think about your family? What are they going to
Yes.
think about what your family didn't do? What are they going to?
Mm.
And for me, when I wrote God Sees You, I didn't know that was a song. I was going around humming the you're like an internal bleeder, can't
Mm.
see pain, but it can silently kill you, right? So deeply suicidal, depressed, but you won't say a thing, right? So I remember it started off with you're like an internal bleeder. So I just had that. I had that. Then it was just like suicidal, depressed, but you won't say a thing. And so it started off, I was like, I don't know if this is like a song, spoken word. I was really
Wow.
in poetry, and I was going to like a lot of spoken word events. And I was like, I don't know if it's going to be one of those spoken words where it's like you speak some, you sing some.
Right.
I didn't know. But I started writing. And so I was just like, well, let me just go into the studio and just sing this with nothing. And so I had a click track, and it was just like, ooh, 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 ooh,
Sing.
right? So, and then it just kind of came together. And so I had this like 5 minutes of just, it was kind of unstructured chaos, but then I let some of my friends who were depressed and suicidal listen to it. And they were like, oh my God, when I listened to this song, I felt like I was snatched up out of a pit, out of a dungeon.
Wow.
They said, and then I let somebody else who I know who was dealing with it listen to it too. And he was like, he didn't want to write. He wanted to, he was trying to out himself. And he was like, they listened to your song, and now he's writing and wants to live again. It was like, and then that person
Wow.
let somebody else hear. And I'm just like, wait a minute, I think I'm supposed to do something with this, but I don't really know what to do with this. I literally went into the studio, and I had that reference track. I restructured it where it was like verse, hook, vamp, the way that it is now. And I literally just sang what I heard, the ooh, ooh, ooh. That's like the ambulance. When
Wow.
you hear the ambulances, it's that sound to let you know there's an alert, there's an emergency, something's going
Wow.
out of the way, right? So I was ringing the alarm for what a lot of people were dealing with, and that's the ooh, right? And
Whoa.
so like with the God sees you, God hears you, God loves you, a lot of times some people can look at God sees you as, oh my God, he sees my wrong. But some people need to know, excuse me, God sees like when I'm hurting. God sees
Mm.
what I'm going through. He sees when this person is abusing me or this person is doing me wrong. He sees when I'm dealing with all this anxiety that I don't really know how. God sees when I don't feel like getting up in the morning to go to work because life is just really lifing.
Yeah.
God sees when, you know what I'm saying, I feel like I was going to lose my mind because my father died in 2013. God
Wow.
saw even year after year where it got more difficult. God saw me when I was going through heartbreak. You feel me? God saw me when I was dealing
Yes.
the struggles of the pressure of, you feel me, like just being or having sisters who sing, and then you sing, and then people constantly comparing you and telling you, well, you're supposed to be doing this, and how come your music ain't doing this, their music did this, and how you gonna talk, like all of the pressure that
Right.
you feel, you know what I'm saying, no, regardless of whatever situation you're in, people have pressure on them, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I
Yes.
feel like I needed to know that
Mm.
God saw what was happening with me. Like I needed to
Mm.
know. And if I needed to know, if I'm going through something, God allows me to go through something, not just for me, but so that
Mm.
he can produce an anointing in me that can break whatever strongholds that's in somebody else's life. You feel me? And
Wow.
so with the song God Sees You, it just really came together. There's no instruments, it's literally me all singing. I'm doing the ooh, ooh, the highs and lows. What does that represent? Bipolar. Sometimes you high, low, low, right? And then you have the
Wow.
think about when you're panting, like
the heart rate.
That can resemble an anxiety attack, right?
Wow.
Like, you know what I'm saying? I didn't know all this while I was singing it though, right? So the song is legit prophetic though, for real though,
For real. Has to be.
I mean, I didn't know. I'm sorry, my thing was still on because I was working out.
You're
Anyway,
good. Come on, fitness
life is life. So I didn't know all of these things. I didn't know that I was gonna go through and, you know, check myself into a mental institution and all of that, and I was gonna need to listen to the song myself. I didn't know that.
Wow.
I didn't know all these people would be reached by this song. I didn't know. I was like, okay, boom, God, you gave me this song. When you want me to release it? He was like, release it during March, because March on the Hebrew calendar is a time where, you know, it's right before Passover, and, you know, they put the blood over the post.
Wow.
And it's like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah, yeah.
a form of protection from the spirit of death that's going to be released upon the enemies. So he was like, boom, depression, suicide, all of that is like an umbrella. It's up under the umbrella of the spirit of death, because it wants to depress you, weigh you down, all of that. So I came from the spiritual side of it. You feel me? Even though it can be mental, emotional, sometimes the roots,
right,
you know what I'm saying, or the source of it could be spiritual, whatever. So I feel like I was in preparation. Right after the song came out, these people started dying by suicide. And people were like, oh my God, you wrote this song and this happened. I didn't know it was about to about to happen.
No.
It got people's attention. And then I was able to get a partnership with Mental Health for America. I was able to go to their annual conference in DC, you know, and all of these therapists and psychologists are now using the song to get people to open up. I was talking to somebody, like, I was in the car, I played this song, this person opened up. A girl who counseled me said, your song caused my daughter to open up about her suicidal thoughts, and she's 9. Then I have another friend who's a therapist. He was like, I played your song and she opened up more than she ever had in our session. So, but let me tell you how bomb God is though.
Come on.
It's an answer to a prayer, because I had met this lady and her name was Mama Jenkins. And I remember she had like this bottle of oil that never ran out. I'm just like, you know, they gotta be the Lord. How the bottle of oil never run out? And you've been using it forever. Like, okay. All right. So boom. So she was like, God had used her to shut down a whole mental institution. Like, she just went in, laid hands on everybody, they got healed. So that there was no more need for the mental institution. Because she laid hands on. Yeah, right. So a lot of people have never heard of her, like, you know what I'm saying? But her name was Mama Jenkins, and she came up under, you know, Smith Wigglesworth.
No.
All right, look him up. He bombed. He wanted to like fathers of faith or whatever. And so he had like this amazing ministry and all of this stuff where people would be healed by faith. And so she came up under him. She was 100 when I met her. She was 104 when she passed away.
Wow.
Right?
Oh, she had an assignment.
She had an assignment. But I remember when she was there and I was like, God, I want to be able to, you know, pray. And I just wanted to I wanted God to use me in that way. Let me say that. I wanted God to use me in that way. I was like, wow, a mental institution was shut down because everybody got healed. And it reminded me of that story in the Bible, whatever, that where he was talking about he healed the lunatic, the man who was like out in the caves. You feel me? Like all right, he cutting, he doing all this stuff, all the stuff we see, cutting and all of that.
Wow.
You feel me? In operation. And so when you deal with the spiritual side of it, you deal with that side, then you can move to just processing through the soul and the emotions and the mind. But sometimes you can't get to that point because these people are so demonized and attacked.
Yeah.
You feel me? And under terror by demons and all this stuff or whatever. So you deal with the spiritual side. All right, boom. So we deal with the spiritual side. Now we can come over to deal with the soul. Let's process this stuff in your soul. Let's process like the traumas you've been through, the experiences that you've had. So, you know what I'm saying? Let's identify some triggers here. Let's, you know what I mean? Like that song was a gateway to bring about healing. So although I'm not physically going and laying hands, you know what I'm saying, on people in mental institutions, I'm dealing with it like prior to that, you know,
proactively.
Also, yes. And also, I pray in the spirit and intercede under all my songs. So I do a track on low. You know how they say like subliminal messages or whatever?
Yeah.
Do you remember that movie where they were like, listen to this backwards and they're playing this underneath the song, all that, right?
Yeah.
So I remember that movie. I was like, oh, I'm gonna pray underneath all of them. I'm praying the spirit. So I was specifically targeted, like God is super strategic. You feel me? But I pray under all of that to deal with the spiritual side of people dealing with depression, anxiety, and really any form of abuse. Because if you suffering in silence, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're going through something, you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely.
So it packaged like so much stuff. And I mean, I feel like the song is still gonna do more than what I've seen it do. But I feel like from what I've seen it do, like I'm just like, oh, okay, Lord, I see how you working. I see how you moving.
My mind right now is
What?
blown. I mean, you had me with the sirens. I'm not even gonna try to do it because that's you.
Okay.
But you had me with the sirens, but all the way, I mean, to our point earlier, you just never know how it's gonna be used, how God is gonna use it. But like your obedience to say yes, like you don't know what you did for people. You know, like probably like 1%, but you don't even like that's so cool. I love that. Wait, thank you for explaining that all to me. That's so amazing. And now when I listen again, it's gonna be just that much more. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to listen and cry.
Like, oh, that's the part. Yeah. And like I said, I wasn't, I was not aware of all of this. I literally just went in the studio and sang what I heard and what I felt. You feel me?
Right.
I had never produced a song by myself. I had never done anything all acapella. I didn't know it would be all acapella. Like it was really God like moving through me
Right.
and, you know what I'm saying, inspiring me and just using me as his instrument to like help. And again, I told you, I don't like to see people hurting unnecessarily. Now, sometimes we got to go through some stuff because we done did some stuff, right? And we
Yeah.
gotta,
Yeah.
you feel me? It'd be the season.
Come on.
Okay, okay, because we need to be afflicted a little bit to
Yeah. Yeah. Settle
humble down.
down. Yeah. Settle down. Right.
But if it's unnecessary and like, oh, it's the devil, like, no, we finna get in here. Like, what? No,
Yeah. Period.
if you don't have to, if it's not, if this trial is not sent from God, you know what I'm saying? It's just the enemy like trying to beat you up. You're not finna beat what? You're not beating these people up.
No, we interceding for that.
You get what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
no, what?
No, it's
No,
not about to happen.
no, we've been help pull you out. And I feel like
Wow.
a lot of times when everything is about, you know what I'm saying, me, you forget, like it's easy for people to forget, like we're here for each other, like we do need each other. You know, we
Yes.
do need each other because if we didn't need anybody, then he would have put us, God would have put us all on islands, but he
Right.
didn't.
That's the one. Adam would have just been Adam. There would have been no Eve.
You feel me? Like he
Right.
would have, but he put us here together for a reason. He said, be fruitful,
Right.
multiply, for a reason, you know, and I believe that we are here to be helpers to one another. One of the that I never really hear, but that God gave to me was like, the strong are to bear the infirmities of the weak. The strong are supposed to bear the infirmities of the weak. And it reminds me of the song, and now let the weak say I am strong, right? So I may be the strong one to help somebody who's weak, but the only way I can do that is through the strength of God, right?
Yeah.
So I get my strength from him, and then because I'm strong in him, then I can help somebody else who's weak.
That's
And then I
good.
tell them what I did, and you get your strength from him, and then you can help somebody else who's weak. And then you go and you get your strength. You feel me? But I think what's happening is like we forget to get our strength from him. And so we worn out. And that's what happened
Yeah.
to me. That's what led to a lot of the mental battles that I had, emotional battles. I didn't really understand I knew how to cut people off, but I didn't really know how to set boundaries when I really cared deeply. Like, I don't know how to tell you no when you're really going through. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying?
That's
Like,
good.
if you really, I didn't, because I felt like this insurmountable amount of guilt because I thought I had to help. But God was like, nah, sis, like
You're not the
you all are
savior.
called to help, but you gotta set those boundaries too. You gotta know, like,
Yes.
you gotta take care of you. And when my father died, and I really like that stuff really hit home. And I had battles before, but me losing him was like the single most painful experience that I've ever had in my entire life.
Wow.
And I was praying and fasting and all of that, but I was like, I'm not saying it's not working, but I'm just saying like I need that counselor part of God. I need the,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? I need the comforter. Like I need something else. And sometimes that comes through different ways. It could come through the counselor. It could come through the therapist. through the psychologist. It could come through, you know what I'm saying, community and, you know what I'm saying, group
That's
therapy or whatever. It can come through those avenues, but sometimes in the church, it's like, oh, you only come through the pastor. Here's the problem with that is that pastor may not even be anointed to counsel. He may not even be anointed to counsel you in that area.
That's
so
good.
y'all have God-like expectations on this person who was never even anointed by God to do what you're asking for them to do.
Right.
You
But then
give
the church,
me
but then you want to criminalize counselors and therapists and exactly.
like that, like, doesn't the Bible say wonderful counselor? Like, okay, I don't
What are we doing?
Okay. You know, but people don't want folks to outsource outside of the local church or the context of the church because they feel like, oh, that's going with the world. No, like, where do you think the world got their idea for psychologists and psychiatrists? You think they came up with that? No, boo. Like, to really deal with the to deal with the issues of the soul, like Buddha's all God. He said he was gonna save your soul. So of course he's gonna have, you know what I'm saying, people in particular places to help deal with the soul.
Absolutely. That's a word. It's a word. It's so true though. And I mean, like, I'm really appreciative of you calling out, like you saying all this is not you saying like y'all should not get a therapist, y'all should not get a psychologist. Like, you're actually saying the opposite. Like, you really do need to go to God and figure out where he's directing you 1,000%. Come on. Okay. This is so good. Let me move on to my next question because I can't have us here all night. Okay. So I want to come back. I want to circle back to you in your singer-songwriter journey, but I want to highlight your podcast. So you have a podcast called the Shanta Atkins podcast. First of all, what a flex. I want to be known by just my name. That's how I know. I'm like, okay, period, done, like, made it, check, period. But you have an episode, I told you before this, but it really spoke to me. It's called Mary's Little Sister. And I was listening and once again, I felt so seen. I just felt like you were speaking my language. And so I have some questions from that. But something you mentioned was before you were like Mary's little sister, it was like, oh, she's like one of the Atkins. Like, and your identity was wrapped up in your family and like your sisters. And having a huge family is beautiful, but I think we have some listeners right now who feel the same way, like celebrity siblings or not. Like, how did you end up forging your own identity, and like at what point, like, what was the switch where you were like, no, I need to get right for me?
I feel like I've always been my own person. Even when I asked my mom, because I always ask people, I don't have a lot of memories from when I was really little. So like 6 and under, I don't remember anything. Okay. Really 8 and under, I don't remember anything, which I don't know, maybe I need to get that checked out. Who knows? But anyway, my mom was like, I've always we'll deal with that later. In therapy. We'll deal with it in therapy. But my mom was like, I always had like this big or bold personality. You know what I mean? And I think that I don't know where the switch necessarily happened. I feel like I always wanted to be my own person.
Yeah.
And just fighting for what I already knew was my own individuality. And so for me, it was more like a battle of who I knew I was. I knew I was more than just a singer, right? Okay, so I know how to sing. All right, okay. I knew I was more than just a prayer warrior, or a person who prays. I knew it was more than just the baby of the family. And so I think for me, it was more so about learning all of the different gifts and talents that I had and walking in that and owning that without the comparison. My biggest battle in being in a family before, Eric and Tina became Mary, just with Atkins family, it's like everybody associates you with somebody else or something else. And so you have to be really bold to just move out in another area. Like, hence me moving to Chicago and living there for 4 years. No, first of all, I'm the baby. I left like a few years after my dad passed. So they were just like, what are you doing? Why are you leaving? What's going on? You're not married.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Even my home church, I had to leave my home church that I was raised in for a while. And they're just like, you're not married. What are you doing? So I feel like always making these bold moves. I went away to college, you know what I mean, when I was 17. And so I feel like I've always made these bold moves because I am a pioneer in and just moving out and just moving in faith and sometimes even moving in fear. You know what I'm saying? because you can't come out of fear unless you move out of it. And sometimes it literally takes for you to physically get up and go to another place. So for that stuff to fall off of you. And then you go and you kind of look back at it like, I see the pieces of fear that fell off me. Now I'm walking on that fear. You get
Come
me?
Come on.
So,
that's good. That's good.
And so for me, like, it was just more so of fighting through all the opinions of people and the comparisons of people and the, oh, you guys are going to be little Mary Mary, or, oh, you're going to do this. I was like, I wanted to be in government. That was one of my desires. You know, I said I wanted to be a senator. Like that was that I always wanted to, I was a political science major. So this is very different. I wasn't like my other sister, Lisa, who I went to college, even with her, she was in science. And then the sister right above me, Elena, she was in science. Listen, I did horrible in science, except for political science. Now I was good at that, okay? But biology, chemistry, oh, no, that ain't for me.
Not for you.
That's for you, sis. You know, and so...
Not your portion.
Yeah. And so I didn't try to force it, like with these other kids, like, oh, let me do this because you're doing this. I was like, no, let me try and see what I like to do. Let me try and see what I want to do. And it may take some time for me to figure it out. Like I always would get all these jobs and I want to do this. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do this. I don't want to do this anymore. But I think that trial and error really helped to shape who I am and help me to be solid in my own identity. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's my political beliefs that are different, whether it's my, you know what I'm saying, activism, you know, within different communities, whether it's my beliefs about God, whether it's my beliefs about relationships and me, you know what I'm saying, choosing to like abstain, and you know what I'm saying? I realized those are bold moves. And like I said, when I asked my mom about when I was a little girl, she was like, you were always outspoken. But there was a time where fear kind of came over me, and I was kind of stifled a little bit. And so it became like this war, because it wasn't just that I had a big family, but it was full of women. So it will be different if you have brothers, because people are not necessarily like, oh, brother. But when you have all these older sisters, they always find a sister to compare you to. Oh, you sing just like Tina. Oh, you're smart, just like Lisa. Oh, you this, just like Google. Or you know what I'm saying? They always are comparing you to somebody somewhere. I have 7 sisters. Wow. So, like, okay.
That's wild.
Yeah. So I hope that.
That is so good. Okay, so that actually brings me to my next question about you singing. Okay, so you started, I think you said you started singing professionally at 14, but singing on stages was never something that you were like, oh, period, like that's for me. Like I want to be on that big stage. Like that wasn't for you. And you said something, I was listening to this while I was on the treadmill, and girl, you had me falling off, because you said, what happens when people want you to fulfill a dream that they want for you instead of yours, and more importantly, what God put on your heart. So can you just speak to that? Like, how did that affect you? You're like, you want this for me. You want me to be, like you said, like little Mary Mary, but that's not one of my desires. Like, why you're trying to put this dream on me? You're projecting, beloved. You're projecting.
Exactly. You said it perfectly. You're projecting. And I think that when you're going through and you're trying to figure out who you are and what you like and what you desire, it is a fight.
Yeah.
It is a fight, especially if you have a lot of people. Some people don't have anybody giving me any direction. And then you have the other side of that coin, which is you have some people trying to give you, do this, do that, do this, do that, do this, do that, do this. You know what I'm saying? And you have to just sometimes separate and get away from it all, which is why I realized, oh, this is why I need to go to college, to figure out what the heck do I want to do outside of my family. It doesn't mean I hate my family. It doesn't mean I don't like them or anything, right? But it means I want to find out who I am outside of that, right? I feel like for me, and I restate the question because I want to make sure I answer it.
Yeah, like, just speaking to like balancing, not even balancing, but like pushing past people's opinions and being like, this is my desire. This is what God told me and what he put on my heart.
Yeah, I'm a huge advocate of just kind of like getting out of the box, like getting outside the box, like travel, you know what I mean? Leave your city. Some people live their lives and they never leave their city or their town. Like get out. Like I'm all about exposure, not exposure before time, but I'm all about exposure. Like now I'm although I'm very spontaneous, I'm also I am as spontaneous as I am calculated. So I will be extremely spontaneous or extremely calculated or both. same time. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So like when I went to college, I counted up the cost. Okay, let me make sure I have all my stuff in order. Let me make sure I have all the money that I need. Let me make sure I know how much this is and all that. And then boom, I'm gonna go. When I moved to Chicago, okay, let me make sure I have this amount of money in my account. Let me make sure I have all this stuff set out. I'm gonna fly out. I'm gonna find my place. I'm gonna set. So I had calculated in my, you know what I'm saying, in my moving out, but I had to not be afraid. And I think that sometimes people are waiting for the fear to leave to do stuff. Like you just got to be careful, because it's like, it reminds me, I'm always going to say it reminds me of scripture. So just
me too, girl. Come on. I'm here for it.
So it's like, as they went, they were healed. And I feel like as I took a step forward, something fell off. I took another step forward, something fell off. And it wasn't until I did that forward motion, like even starting the podcast, I didn't know how to podcast. I didn't know how to podcast. I didn't know how to do the record. I was like, look, y'all, I'm gonna get on the talk. Y'all want to listen to it, cool. If you don't, you don't. Whatever. It is what it is. I'm gonna do it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Even with singing. Now, I really love to sing, but I knew that I was more than a singer. And I think that with my sisters, I saw them kind of being locked in from my perspective. I saw them being locked into just being singers. And you know how people can do, like, oh, sing, you're a singer, just sing. And so they see you as nothing else except for the singers. And they do just sing. But I saw how people lock them in. So I didn't want my identity to be trapped in in the gifts that people saw that I had either. You know what I mean? All you are is a gift to them. And you're not a person.
1,000%. It's like what they tell LeBron, shut up and dribble.
And I was going to use that. Like,
what are we doing?
He's a whole man. He's a whole father. He's a black, you know what I'm saying?
Everything, like, truly,
He can't speak on being a husband. He can't speak on being a father because he's a basketball player. He can't speak on being a black man. He can't speak on being a billionaire. He can't, like, and it's like people lock you in. And so it can be tough to overcome the opinions of people. But I think that for me, just as an individual, it took just being bold. To be bold to say this. I have a different opinion. I have a different opinion. Like, and just being bold enough to say I have a different opinion. Even if it was wrong. And I'm not saying like you need to be loud and wrong, but don't be afraid to share what your perspective is. Now, be also open to constructive criticism and correction in the same breath, but sometimes you can be so like overwhelmed and overtaken by the opinions of man and what they want that it stifles you. And I don't want anybody to be like, don't let people stifle you. You got to go through your process. You got to learn, you know what I'm saying? As you go, you grow as you go, and like, be okay with that. Be okay with making mistakes. Be okay with sometimes having your identity lost in someone else, and then you realize, okay, let me get out of that. Like, life
that's good.
Process. Life is a journey. You're not going to get it all at once. You're not going to figure it all out in your teens and your 20s, sometimes not even in your early 30s. Like, but it will come. It will come.
Yes. Okay. You're just reading my mind right now, because what it sounds like to me is it's a lot of redefining. Like, as you live, it's a lot of redefining. And that was one of the questions I had for you. So let's kind of paint a picture. Like, you said you're the baby, and then your sisters, Erica and Tina, like, obviously blew up, have their amazing career, and you kind of mentioned like people were projecting what they wanted from you, like out of your music career, out of everything. But you were like, what if I don't want to sell out stadiums? What if I don't want to put out an album? What if I don't want to do that? And you had to redefine what success looked like to you. So in this moment, maybe not in this moment, but how do you look at success today? Like, how have you redefined that?
First of all, I believe that success is determined by God. I want to say that. And so I believe that there's kingdom success and there's worldly success. And for kingdom success, that comes from Joshua 1:8. And it says, if you observe to do all that is written according to my law, then you will make your way prosperous and then you'll have good success. I believe that success is not just something that is financial, but I think that success is something that has to do with you being in your purpose. Your purpose could be you being a missionary. Like, I'm a missionary too. So when I was going and singing to the orphans, is that not success? Because I'm not selling out stadiums. And so I also challenged people, right? Let me challenge what you think success is, this American westernized perspective.
Come on.
I got to have all this wealth and riches or I'm not successful. What if I'm impacting all these lives? Because Jesus the Christ, he established a kingdom. He didn't have no organization. He didn't have no brand. He didn't have, you know what I'm saying? He didn't have no, he didn't have all that material stuff. You get what I'm saying? Well, his was just much deeper. And so I think with success, it can be, success is so many different things. There's no one way, but if you are in a particular context where they have defined it for you, you can get lost in that and be bold enough to redefine what that looks like from a godly perspective, though, right? So we talked about the kingdom success. And so I think if you think about worldly success, that's going to be defined by wherever you are. If you go to, let's say Guatemala, right? Or I don't know, another nation. Let me not just put it on a nation, but if you were in another nation and their idea of success is, I have a family, you know, I'm married, I'm raising 3 beautiful children and all of that, and I have a successful family. My children are well fed, they are healthy. You know what I'm saying? Starting marriage, that's success. Period. But then somebody else will say, well, success is if I have my marriage and I have my business and I have you know, my business right? That's success to them. And then someone else says, well, I give all that up to go, you know, serve these people in this other nation. And then that's success, right? And then you have someone else, well, I have a 6-figure, you know, job or 7-figure job, or I'm a billionaire, right? Then you have someone else who makes a breakthrough in the area of science, right? That's success. Then you have someone who becomes a, you know, they move in government and they become, you know, governors or officials. As different levels of success. Even if you look throughout the Bible, there were different levels and measures of success. Just because you weren't a king and you were maybe a scribe, it doesn't mean that you weren't successful because you weren't a king. And sometimes people are limiting folks to what their ideas are of success. And it's like, this person is fulfilled and they are doing what God wants them to do, then that's success for them. I heard so many people say like, oh, well, you should be bigger. You should be more popular. You should be, I believe that's like really a westernized, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like perspective of something like the more
I agree.
The more successful you are. If you have all this fame and the more people know you and the more attention you have, then you're successful. If you have 10,000 followers, that's success. But if you have 2 followers, that's not success. Right, and so, first of all, how are these things defined by people? Are you a person? Redefine it.
What? You made this up.
You made this, they made it up. And you're a person, so make something else up. Be creative. Like,
look, I graduated in May and I gave our commencement address, and my whole speech is about like reimagining the world, because literally the way we live right now, like on like earthly constructs, it's just reimagined by someone else. Like every single thing, like the 5-day work week, someone had to reimagine it. Like paying rent, someone had to reimagine. Like, just remake it up. What are we doing?
Exactly. 4-day work week for me, teacher. I'm this. Okay.
Right. Coming. That was me like slightly trying to like pray it up and, you know, manifest. No, but that's so good. And I love the fact that you brought in like a global perspective, because it really is true. And I think that also comes from people like, yes, it is such a blessing to be able to like leave your hometown and stuff, but like if y'all have the means, like go, because you will so quickly realize that your ideas and your beliefs and things will be confronted, and you have to really stand in that or be like, oh, maybe I need to rethink that. Like the world does not revolve around us, especially here in the United States. That is just not how it works.
Yeah. It doesn't. And it's a term that I learned, I'll never forget. I learned in political science 101, one of my favorite classes. It was called American exceptionalism. Ooh. And it's basically this idea that we are better than everyone else. And we are the exception to the rule, and everyone should, you know what I mean, focus on us, bypass all of the things we've done wrong because we're exceptional, because we're Americans. And I always thought that concept, I was just like, wow, like that was something that I chose to like write about. And it's always kind of stuck with me, because that whole idea that thinking of we are better than all the rest, like it comes from a very, I believe, selfish perspective, because we need to see ourselves not just within our context, but in other contexts on a macro level. You know what I mean? And we are all connected because we're all humans, even though we speak different languages and we may be from different places and we may even have different cultures and different ideas about things. We're still all humans. And so we need to make sure that we are respecting and honoring the other ways that people, you know what I'm saying, live life, even when it's not the way that we think or what we think or how we think. A huge example, and I'm gonna just say this. When I went to South Africa and Nigeria, the way that they have church, oh, baby, they get down. You know what I mean? You getting all the way down, but you come to America, oh, that's nasty. You shouldn't dance like that. That's perverted. That's whatever. But like they literally are dropping it all, you know what I'm saying, down. I be like, ooh, 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 you better get it to Jesus, get it, right? So, but it was so fun. And it wasn't sexual.
Right.
But because come over here in America, we make everything.
You made it that way.
Right. That's your perception. Like,
right. Take off the glasses, take off the filter.
Yeah.
Wow, that is such a word. Such a word. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, thank you for speaking on that, because I feel like that's going to here's how I think. If you feel offended by that, maybe that's something you need to check. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. Okay, I want to go back really quick to you just like growing up with Erica and Tina, blowing up as Mary Mary, and you said a story on your podcast, which has literally happened to me. And I have told people and they don't believe me. So I'm just really glad that you can testify to this. Okay. So you said, I think you're in school and your sisters were popping off and someone came to you and they were like, oh yeah, Mary, like those are my cousins. Yeah. You already go ahead and finish the story. Tell the listeners how this story went, please.
I was in 9th grade and it was right after my algebra class. And this Asian guy walks up to me. Okay, he's Asian, we're Black, but whatever. It's, hey, whatever. Maybe you're adopted. I don't know. He walks up to me. He's just like, "Oh yeah, those are my cousins." I was like, "Oh, they are." I was like, "Well, who's your mom or dad? Like, how do you know? Who are the people you know?" "Oh yeah, because like he just starts making something up," and I was like, "You're lying! Like, stop! That's not your." Stop.
What? It's the audacity.
The audacity. Do you hear me? The audacity. Like just people trying to find their identity and their idea of what fame is. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yep.
Oh, I want to know somebody famous too. That's going to make me feel like I'm something. You're something if you know nobody who's famous.
Period. Full stop.
You're something because you're you. You know what I mean? And nobody else could be you.
And that's it. So that guy, did you tell him? Were you like, so you're literally lying, or were you just like, you know what, you keep that, and let me just walk away? Do you remember what you did?
No, I thought it was lying. I'm that kind of person. I'll be like, you're actually lying right now. I'm quite confrontational. I'm less confrontational than I used to be. I used to be extremely confrontational. I've gotten older, a bit wiser. I'm not as strong. I had to settle myself. I said, okay, this is not worth it. Let me just, okay.
That is so, I mean, I'm telling you, that has happened to me at my high school and people don't believe me, but I'm like, and that's the thing. They don't care if y'all the same race, like look alike. They will say it because people want clout. Like, what are we doing? So on that same note, I think you said you were like getting stopped at the grocery store and like people started DMing you, like, I don't know, on social media, like, hey, can you send this track to your sister? Can you send this track to your brother-in-law? And you became like, I'm not their manager. I'm their sister, but I'm me. Like, do you feel like that affected how you, okay, like, let me say from my perspective, like when people started doing that, not send this track, but like, hey, can you DM your brother? Can you text your brother? I've been DMing him, like, and I felt like it really affected the way I was like pursuing friendships, even relationships. I like had more of a guard up. Do you feel like that happened to you too?
I was extremely, listen, like guys used to tell me, they were like, you're like, what's that? They was like, you're like Alcatraz. They was like, you have like, it was like, you have like plexiglass, and then it's like the vault security. And then it was like, you have this like, and it's like a wall of steel. And then it's, extremely guarded. And then you have to remember, I grew up with all sisters too. So we didn't, like my brother would be like, he was on vacation. Okay. This vacation. Come on. So, all right. He was, okay. So
shout out to him.
You know what I'm saying? Shout out to my brother. But I didn't always have a male presence to protect me. You know what I mean? So I'm just like, I just was real guarded. And so especially because I realized people were getting close to me because of who my sisters were. And even before there was social media, they used to send stuff. I don't know how they found our addresses. We used to get all of this mail to my aunt's house with tapes and CDs and listen to my music and send them this. And it wasn't really, oh no, yes, way. like, oh, I was with them. Like people just completely, I was just with them. I grew up with them. Like people just lying, spreading rumors, creating fake pages of family members in other states, getting numbers in other phone numbers in other states and pretending to be my niece. And we would be in communication with them and it wasn't my niece because they had got a Google and then they stole all the pictures off of my niece's page because she shut her page down. Like, oh yeah, showing up to different events. We didn't know how they got there. We like, girl, when I tell you, had stalker situations, people popping up to houses, people sharing our addresses online, like crazy.
I've been stalked.
Crazy
it's insane. That's an experience you truly wish on no one.
Yeah. So that made me extremely guarded. And like you said, I didn't know how to really be trusting because, and people don't understand because sometimes they think, oh, you're just a distrustful person. And it's like, no, I have to be wise and I have to be more careful than the average person because people are not trying to get to you. Now, people will try to get to folks who influence. Let's say, for example, there's somebody who's really rich and people find out, then you got to worry about that. Or you're somebody who's in a governmental position. And so people want things from you. And so if you have any type of position or fame or anything, people will try to get connected to you. And so the more fame that grows, the more people, are aware of you and they try to get close. So that was very, very hard. I had a hard time, especially in like romantic relationships, if they were in music, because I'm like, are you trying to connect to me because you're trying to be in music? Are you trying to play for my sisters? Are you trying to go on the road? Are you a groupie? And we had situations like that. You live and you learn. I even had people who were close to me because they wanted to say they was associated with me. And it just got really weird. And you really get to see those identity issues come out because people are not secure in who they are and what they do. And because of the context that they're in, they assume I have to have fame, or I have to know somebody who's famous, or I have to do this, or I have to be in Hollywood, or I need to act like I'm doing something, or I need to put this post on social media to make it look like I have this fabulous life, when really I'm doing horrible and I'm doing terrible, and I'm going to fake it till I make it.
Right.
I'm going to stuff so people could think this. You don't have to do that. Be secure in whatever state you're in. And I'll say this last. With me, like I started sharing my journey online, my weight loss journey. I feel like I've been on a weight loss journey since I was 8 years old. But anyway,
it really be like that.
I've never been this open with like videotaping myself or recording myself working out and sharing my, like that was a new level of vulnerability, you know what I'm saying, to share, because you're susceptible to people, saying just really harsh and horrible things online, like, oh,
horrible,
like you fat B, you're never gonna, you're a pig, you're like, people have literally said that to me like a lot. And to already deal with that from 8 years old on up and then go, it's just like, it can be overwhelming. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, but I opened up and I shared that. And for me, it's helped me to be able to even accept that part about my identity. Like sometimes I'm struggling, you know what I'm saying, in certain areas. Like me having fame doesn't remove the struggle that I have or the struggles that I deal with inwardly. And I don't have to act like I'm not struggling when I'm struggling because I want to present this false image. Like, no, hey, I'm still Shanta, but I'm struggling in this area. Just like all of us. We all have areas where we struggle in. You know what I mean? And it doesn't mean you have to go find your identity. I don't need to use an app to try to make myself look skinnier or to try to make myself look perfect, because really it's me saying, like, I feel like I have to present this to the world because I want them to accept me for this. They're going to accept you for who you are. The people that are your people, they're going to accept you for who you are, how you are. Now, they're not going to let you stay there if you need to become better. You know what I mean? But it's like, I don't want to have to put on all this fake stuff. So, you know what I mean? To give this false appearance. Like, I just don't want to do that. Like, hey, y'all, I'm trying to tell you, I was having a bad day. Tomorrow going to be better. And maybe I'll be better in 10 minutes. I don't know. But right now, it's happening. You know what I'm saying? Today, I was an emotional wreck, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Today, I didn't lay my edges. Usually, I lay my edges down. Today,
lay right up. Standing up.
It's okay.
Right.
It's okay.
It doesn't need to be manufactured at all. And I'm really glad you said that, because I feel like I really struggled with that. It's still like, it's not, I feel like true. like truly progress is like also never linear. Like sometimes you have really good moments, then like a couple months you're like, oh wow, like what happened? Like I'm back to where like I said I would never be back. And like I was like, oh wow, there's like more pressure. I felt at this like greater level of risk. And for some reason I carried other people's assumption that like, okay, if you're like tangential to fame or you're in the spotlight or whatever, you're good. And it's like almost, I don't know why I'm getting this image right now, but like Meghan Markle, when she like opened up about her mental health issues, they were like, that's not true. Like you're a princess. You're blah, blah, blah. So she can't be struggling? Like it just doesn't make sense. Like it doesn't make sense.
It's that assumption of perfection.
Yeah.
It's that assumption of perfection and people thinking again, because you have met my idea of success. So you don't have any problems because you met my idea. And you have all the things that I want that I don't have yet. And you're in the place that I aspire to be. So you couldn't have any problems. And you shouldn't say you have any problems because you're ungrateful. And you're like, hey, we all have different problems on different levels.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? And just because somebody has something or they've achieved a certain level of success doesn't mean that they're without struggle.
Yeah.
We are all struggling in some areas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't mean bad life. You can have a bad day or a bad moment. You know what I mean? And it's okay to be about that. You know,
that is so good. Oh, it's so good. Well, that literally, I had a question about in wrapping up, like advice you would give to others struggling with identity. But y'all, how do we summarize all this into one sentence? So I'm gonna let y'all go back and watch and rewind. But my last question, well, kind of last question is, what impact, if you had to kind of summarize it in a way, like what impact, what legacy do you want to leave on this planet?
I think what I just did here today, like just helping people to discover their God-given identity first and foremost. I want to help people discover their God-given identity, because once you realize that you are accepted and loved by God, that helps to get rid of a lot of the rejection, and not just rejection from people, but self-rejection. Because a lot of times we think rejection is people, but we have a lot of self-rejection that we haven't dealt with. And I'm really big on looking at the root of stuff. Even when I looked at like why people are overweight, a lot of it was rooted in self-rejection. You know what I'm saying? And so you have to learn how much you are loved. And so I want to make sure that I leave a legacy of people discovering who they are in God, their God-given identity, and knowing how loved they are. Like literally, God loves you. People literally love you. You may not feel like it, but feelings fade and feelings change and feelings they're like the wind. Okay, they're here today, gone tomorrow. But you are loved. You are greatly loved. You are greatly cared for. You were created with a purpose. You were created for a purpose. You were created to prosper. With this whole idea of I have to struggle every single day of my life, or I'm not, or it's not God. Like he said, one scripture verse that really helped me was it says he takes pleasure in the prosperity of his servants. And when you look up the word prosperity, it talks about it's associated with like how Eden was, the Garden of Eden, peaceful, serenity. We weren't toiling. We weren't, you know what I'm saying? And so all of this, you know, I struggle award, it means I'm so close to God. It means, you know, he loves me more than he loves anyone else because I am the struggle queen or king or that. Like, no.
You got it. You got it.
You got that. You got that.
Right.
Both the seasons, you know, but you're loved. Like again, let me go back to that. You're loved. You're greatly loved. And God wants you to prosper. He wants you to prosper in your emotions. He wants you to prosper mentally. He wants you to prosper spiritually. He wants you to prosper financially. And that may not look like you being a millionaire, a billionaire, but it can look like you having better stewardship over your finances so that you can leave, you know what I'm saying, an inheritance for your children and your children's children. That's what it can look like. So
that's so good. I literally I saw something the other day. Are you on TikTok?
I am. Okay.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I am too. Someone had said like, sometimes we'd be like, oh, well, the only person I have like is God. Like everyone else left me. Like I just have God. And they were like, imagine like the president of like your country. So like the president of the US and like your dad is the president. And it's like the only call you have is the president of the United States. That's a pretty good call. Like if I can call the president, like I'm good. And like imagine that I'm like an infinite scale. Like if all you have is the creator of the universe, like you have all you need. And I think just really internalizing that. So I love that message. That's so beautiful. Oh my gosh, I'm sad this is ending, but where can everyone keep up with you? You're doing so much. Where can they keep up if they want to tune into your weight loss journey? Like get inspired. I know I'm about to watch the videos and go upstairs and do some squats. So where can they follow you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at Shanta Atkins, or it's Shanta Atkins. That's ITSSHANTAATKINS. Go to the Shanta Atkins podcast. I have a YouTube channel with more. The things that are on my YouTube channel was more like my music and singing and stuff. But I kind of have a few videos where I'm kind of talking and sharing. But I do most of all of that kind of sharing on Instagram and my podcast. And yeah, my music is available everywhere on all digital music platforms.
Shanta, thank you so much for coming on. You have just been such a light, such a blessing. And yeah, I mean, it's just so obvious that the Holy Spirit is doing something through you. So I really appreciate you. I'm gonna call you when I need some uplifting, clearly, because you got it. But yeah, also just a good reminder that we should also set boundaries. Just so many things. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll see y'all soon. Bye. What else am I going to give y'all besides a slow clap? Honestly. And didn't I literally say in the beginning, you're going to be healed from this? I might tell you a joke, but I'll never tell you a lie. Trust that from your host. This host is never going to lie to you. Are y'all not obsessed with Shanta? I mean, her vulnerability, her willingness to speak about her experiences and like her transparency, like the thought that goes behind, like her intentionality behind her music, like praying over the track. Are you joking? Are you joking? Who's doing it like that? Just so good. And that is why, like, that's why I love this show so much. Obviously, I'm biased, but like, how would we have heard that? Like, these are the stories that we need to be hearing. Yes, we need to hear about like people in the spotlight, but like, she has a spotlight too. But like, we genuinely need to hear more stories. We can't keep hearing the same thing over and over, y'all, on these like talk shows. Like, we need to hear more. And she gave us more. She gave us the most. I am so grateful for her. And literally everything she said was just, it was truly groundbreaking. So thank you so much, Shanta, for coming on. I hope all of you feel lighter, feel like you're not alone. I hope you feel seen. I hope you feel loved, because all that is true. You are. And y'all, like, we did not talk about anything she like needed to say before. Like, we don't do scripted over here. So the fact that she hit on every single point of the show that I've been hammering home each week, it's just, clearly it's a message that we're trying to get across, and I think it's working. I also want to say, like, and I should have said this at the beginning, you don't have to be like Christian or a believer or faith-filled to like be listening here. Like, that is not my MO at all. I think it's just a central part of who I am. So it's going to be brought up, and it's a central part of who Shanta is. And so that's why, like, yeah, it just came up. But I ultimately, like, am not trying to change any of you. If you find hope in Jesus, if you find hope in the things that, you know, are essential to who I am and who our guests are, like, period, amazing. But, you know, ultimately, like, everyone has their own journey, and you have to do what feels right to you. Jesus is right for me, so that's who I'm following. But, you know, I'm not here to change you, sis, or King, or whoever. Like, we just gonna vibe out together. I think the requirement for being here is just loving on other people and wanting to hear and uplift more stories. If you can do that, you fit right in. So I'm just, once again, so thankful to Shanta. Thank you to all of you for being here. Make sure you subscribe so you do not miss the next interview. We're going to keep it rolling, y'all. It's a good time. I told y'all it's going to be such a good time. And I will see you so soon. Mwah! Bye, y'all.
But like, they literally are dropping it all, you know what I'm saying, down. I be like, ooh, 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 you better get it for Jesus, get it, right?